All right. So we're talking here 2015's Icelandic film Rams. And this is a first watch for me. I wasn't even aware of this movie. Apparently, they made a remake with Sam Neill a few years later, and I was also not familiar with the remake starring Sam Neill. And I have to say, I love this movie. KJ brought this to us. And he is a kind of last minute guest on this podcast. So I'm really, really excited. KJ was on this podcast with us. Steve would have been great too. But I'm really excited KJ's on because I love this movie. And it isn't without its flaws, certainly. It's not a perfect film by any measure, but it really knocked me out. I saw a lot of overlap with it, and an Englishman goes up a mountain and comes down a hill. I thought this film and that film work almost kind of as companion pieces, the sort of the comic and the tragic versions of one another. And so I'm really, really excited to talk about this. How did I watch it? I watched it on my computer through a legal purchase, perfectly legal. And well, as usual, eating, I think, fish, probably shrimp this time. But I'm very excited to talk about this movie.
Is shrimp a fish? What are the rules on the crustaceans there, Tom?
I don't know. It probably is not a fish. So yes, I was eating a crustacean this
I
time.
guess it goes with fish. But Tom, I can't take credit for this movie. This was actually suggested to me by a fan of the show, friend of the show, old fan, Kagar. This is a Kagar recommend, and I also really enjoyed watching it a few years ago when Kagar recommended. I don't remember exactly how I watched it, but this time I watched it in my basement. And today's one of the first cold days here in the Philadelphia area. And I didn't realize how cold it was getting in the basement. And all of a sudden they go outside and it's real cold in the movie. And I realized I'm real cold. So it was kind of a nice way to watch this in a nice cold, frigid. You know, your hands get real cold. You know that the feeling where you're trying to do stuff, but you're uncomfortably cold there for all of a sudden. And I think it really added to the movie. I enjoyed it.
I watched this movie on my phone. You guys asked me to take part in this podcast. Thank you again, of course, and I've been really excited to watch it for a long time. And unfortunately, that excitement didn't translate to me watching it, sufficiently ahead of time or anything. I watched it today on my phone, but like KJ said, it's quite cold here. And I thought it was really cool because the movie starts out kind of idyllic and green, and then gets cold. And I kind of felt like that's sort of how this day went, I guess. Just weather-wise, not mood-wise or anything like that, but just weather-wise. And I thought that was really fitting. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, yeah.
This movie was a pleasant surprise. I never would have picked this one up off the shelf, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. Just like a few other people here, it was a first watch, but I had the unique ability and experience to watch this on not one, not two, but three different devices. I started it on an old iPad, then moved to the big screen via Apple TV, and then back to the new iPad, which was higher resolution. So yeah, I experienced this in multiple locations and eventually watched the whole film. But yeah, I did enjoy it. Looking forward to talking more about it.